All right. We've got the legendary Mr. Roger Raglin. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, glad to be here.
Honored to have you here and to have you on the team SPYPOINT.
Good deal, good deal.
So I've got a couple questions for you. We know you've had the opportunity over the past decades really to travel and to hunt more than most. You've had a great career in the outdoor industry. But my first question for you today is about 2023, your most recent season. What highlights stick out the most? What memory comes to mind the first as a really great moment for you this past year?
Oh, we had a few. I guess we went down to southeast Oklahoma. Back in the spring, I was looking for a place to maybe try to go shoot some hogs. Mm-hmm. And so I'm online, and I run across this guy down by Atoka, Oklahoma, which is down towards the Texas border.
Okay.
And I call him, and we're chatting, and he said, "Well, we really got some good deer hunting too." I said, "Oh yeah? Well, let's talk about that."
Yeah.
So we drove down there in August. He was 115 in the shade. Josh and I drove down there, looked this place over, and I said, "We're going to come back during rifle season and give it a whirl." So he had some trail camera pictures of a couple of toads, stud bucks that you'd shoot anywhere first day. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting in the blind the first afternoon, and I didn't see the buck, but I know it was one of the target bucks. Josh, who's running the camera, he just he goes, "Oh, there's a big one. There's a big one. He's on a doe." About 250 yards, and I missed him. So get off into the brush. And Josh knows deer. He's been traveling with me for 15 years. And when he says it's a big one, buddy, it means it's a big one. And but in the interim, another buck had come in there. You got a hot doe, and so I think I see him. And he goes, "Oh no, that's a little buck. He's twice that big, and this is a good buck."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, give me those horns, man." So I start rattling and grunting and trying to, and it wasn't just a few minutes, the smaller buck come out. And this buck's, in the 140s, 10-pointer.
This the smaller one?
The smaller one.
Okay.
And he come running out, and I said, Josh goes, "That's the smaller buck." I said, "Yeah. You know what? He looks big enough to me." We shot him.
Yeah.
And I called the outfitter. He come out. He was excited. He was glad we got one.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, we didn't get the big one. But that was a lot of fun. When you still can put your tag on a pretty good buck.
Absolutely.
But we always, I try to go to a couple of new places every year. We were down on the Mexico. The older I get, the further south I go as the season goes on.
I don't blame you.
I was talking to one of the ladies last night at dinner, and I said, I used to spend the entire month of November in Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba. I don't do that anymore.
That's cold. That's cold.
I've been up there many times when the temperature never reached zero.
Yeah.
And of course, so I go south more and spend more time down in southern Texas, and then go to Mexico every year. And we hunted a brand new place down right in Texas, but on the Mexican border, and that's brush country, and at least the weather's nice. It wasn't a great hunt, but I get to hunt Rancho Cuevas. This is the 7th year in a row in Mexico. It's considered the best whitetail ranch in all of Mexico.
Really? So
I'm very fortunate to go down there. It's not commercially hunted. It's by invite only.
Yeah. How far into Mexico is that?
Just about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not, once you cross the border, and we drive across, you're there pretty quick, Yeah. And that's always a great experience. So, but every year, I just finished my 37th shoot season.
Wow.
In the industry. So, and every one of them's different. You have your highs and you have your lows, and we did another. I try to do at least one wounded warrior hunt every year, and this year we took a lady from Houston, Texas, drove to Tulsa, and we're hunting about 80 miles outside of Tulsa on a buddy of mine's farm, and she'd never been hunting in her life. you know. But she was injured, blew up in Iraq, and she's wheelchair bound.
Okay.
But really a neat gal. And we sat in that blind on Saturday, and now I'm a whitetail hunter, you know, and we never saw a deer. Never saw a deer.
Wow.
And it was cold that day too. It was cold, and so I'm trying to encourage her, you know. And now this is deer hunting, you know, and this is the way it works.
Yeah.
And the next morning, we went down and put out a bunch of scent. There was a scrape line down there about 180 yards, but the little buck came out, and I leaned over to Josh and I said, "Yeah," I said, "just a small buck." He said, "Yeah." And I looked over at her, and her eyes were this big around.
Yeah.
She'd never been deer hunting a day in her life. And I said, "You want to shoot that buck?" "Yes!" "Get your gun up there." Yeah, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
I knew what he was going to do. I said, he's going to walk around behind this grass. No, and he's going to step right out here about 100 yards. I said, I'm going to stop him. Now, when I stop him, you're going to have to shoot, okay? She goes, "Yeah, all right." So she's on that guard, and sure enough, he did perfect. Stepped out, you know, and I nabbed at him. Kapow! Boy, she cut out on him, you know, and he run off. And I like to have, even first-time hunters, I like to have some fun with them, you know. I saw she hit him.
Mm-hmm.
I think you missed him. "Oh no, he ran off. I missed him. I can't believe I went." You know.
Yeah.
So we go down there, and there's, you know, we know that she's, and I call her husband and the other guy that kind of arranged the whole hunt. Mm-hmm. I said, "Let's have some fun with this," you know. So we go back to the blind, and it was actually cute. Her husband, he would go in. They're both little. They're Koreans as well.
Okay.
And she would jump up on his back, and he'd put her in the car, you know, truck. And we took her down, and of course, you know, pull the buck out. And oh my Lord, when she saw pulling that buck out,
awesome.
and she pitched a fin. "Throw me down there!" They pitched her down there on that deer, and you'd think she'd killed one like this, you know.
Awesome.
So sometimes, you know, we can get kind of sideways in the road when we're doing this thing called deer hunting, you know, and we can take all the joy and fun out of it, trying to convince people that it's not a success unless you shoot one like this, you know, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, you're right.
In fact, it's never the case. You know, the joy and excitement and thrill and the experience of deer hunting is on an individual basis, you know. And she was just as happy shooting this thing, you know, as she would have been one of these, you know. And that was probably the neatest experience we had all year long, you know. And in southeast Oklahoma, even though I didn't get to kill this one, I got to kill a pretty good one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you said the smaller one was 140.
About 140.
Big 10 point.
Yeah, he's about 140.
Yeah,
10 point.
that's a great deer.
Yeah, he was a great deer. Yeah. So
awesome. So, like I said, a lot of folks know you, especially a lot of the SPYPOINT, you know, fans and followers and users know you, but I don't think a lot of people are going to know how you got started hunting. Who taught you to hunt? Who was your mentor? Tell us a little bit about that.
I was lucky in that I grew up in a family that both sides of the family liked to hunt and fish. Both sides. And I grew up in a little small town of Wagner, Oklahoma, about 4,000 people. 14 miles north of Muskogee, Oklahoma.
All right.
Yeah. And my dad bought me boots at Manley's Footwear. There really was a Manley's Footwear, the Okie from Muskogee song. But and we lived right on the edge of town, so right on the city limits. And so when I got old enough to shoot a BB gun, my dad kind of turned me loose, you know. And my dad was a little bit of a difficult man to get to know, and he was rough and pretty, you know, tough around the edges. But I never one time ever remember my dad, me and asking him, "Let's go hunting or take me." I never one time ever remembered him saying no. I don't care how cold it was or what you know, my dad took me with him, toted me. And I always say the happiest day of my dad's life is when I turned 16 and he could give me the keys and go. And so I could take off, you know. So I grew up around it, and just loved it. I loved it. I couldn't understand why other kids in school didn't go, didn't want to go. When I took my ACT test, I sit on the outside of the classroom so I could look, because it was opening of duck season. It was October the 18th, and I was looking for ducks, trying to. That's why I didn't do very good on my ACT test.
Duck hunting.
Yeah, but I'd go before school, after school, every chance I got, and in college, back and forth. I went to college and started in Oklahoma City, about 160 miles. But I just, took my shotgun with me, kept it in my car. Of course, nobody thought about stuff like that back then. And towed it away. When I went to Duke a few years later. I went to school a long time. All right. And have many college degrees. But when I went to Duke, took my shotgun and boom, shot me a deer while I was out there with slug,
Awesome.
So I was fortunate to have people that would take me, but I did love it.
Yeah.
I did. I never got away from it, and then after, and just stumbled into the outdoor business. To be honest with you, it was just kind of just want to see if I can make a hunting video.
Yeah.
Just want to see if I can make a hunting video, and it was kind of the perfect storm for me. The stars kind of lined up, and never ever dreamed in my wildest dream ever thought that I would get to spend the majority of my adult life doing what I would do for free.
Yeah.
And then make a pretty good living at it, But I've always been enthralled with the white-tailed deer, and still am. I've hunted whitetails. This is kind of mine. I've traveled to 33 different U.S. states and bought a license and hunted white-tailed deer. 4 Canadian provinces, 5 Mexican states. If there's a whitetail, I've seen the country, and I still. It still makes my toenails curl when I'm in that blind and a good one comes out that I want to shoot.
Well, they say when that feeling stops is the time to quit.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. I can't imagine that it's going to be my case.
There's a lot of misconceptions, I think, about hunters and the hunting lifestyle and why we do it. In your words, and for you personally, how would you describe why you're a hunter and what being a hunter means to you, to someone that is either not a hunter or against hunting?
Well, I have been fortunate enough to meet, being in the industry like I am, I've gotten to meet some high-profile people in my life. And one of them that I got to meet a number of years ago was General Schwarzkopf, right after the Kuwait.
Yeah.
Of course, he basically retired right after that,
Right.
And he's no longer with us. But he was big sportsman, liked to hunt and fish. And I drove to Oklahoma City to hear him speak. And what he said was almost profound. And I never forgot it. He said, I never really discuss hunting and fishing with someone that doesn't hunt and fish. Because there's nothing that you can say that's going to make them change their mind. And there's nothing that they're going to say that's going to make you change your mind. And you are never going to agree on anything. So just don't bring it up. Go your own ways. Let them think what they want, do what they want. You think what you want, do what you want.
It's a little like religion and politics.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. And it's kind of funny. Even on my wife as we've had this discussion before. I stay away from religion and politics on my Facebook page. And I'm very careful even on sports.
Yeah.
I'm a big St. Louis Cardinal fan. And an Oklahoma Sooner football.
Yeah.
But I'm real careful because I have a lot of fans that are not,
right.
And so I don't. But I did a little rant, and to my knowledge, it's probably, I hate to use the word great, but it may be the greatest rant anyone's ever done, and it was 2.5 minutes, and I just kind of had a wild hair one time on my phone, and that thing has been viewed millions and millions of times, and the theme of it was a hunt because I like it. I hunt because I like it. I like the challenge, the thrill that it gives me personally. And a side benefit to that is I get to eat while we shoot. I don't hunt to go find something to eat.
Right.
You know, I go to the grocery store for that. You know, but I do eat what I shoot.
Right.
But I hunt because I like to shoot animals. I like that thrill and challenge that I personally get, and I always have, and I always will. And them that don't, I don't care.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to a new hunter who's just starting out, that either someone just introduced them or they're interested in it for whatever reason? What would you tell them?
Just have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Make it an enjoyable experience, and don't get caught up in what anybody else has to say about your experience. Mm-hmm. Because it's all on an individual basis, and we kind of get back, and we kind of like the, I've seen it many times. You ever seen a dog chase its tail? Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised people have never seen a dog chase its tail. I've seen a dog chase its tail, but we kind of get into that, well, I think this and I think that and I think that, and if you don't think like I think, then okay, fine. But for new hunters, I just tell them, good for you, and I'm so happy for you. You just have a great time, and I hope that you get one. But if you don't, keep going, because eventually, because I know what it was like. People ask me all the time, do you really get that excited when you shoot? I'm not, and I do, because I went so long without getting one.
Yeah.
I know what that's like, to go for years and years. I used to go into people's houses, and if they had a deer on the wall or something, well, it was like a magnet. I'd sit there and look at that thing and go, wow. And I tell myself, someday, I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one of these someday. When I married my wife, I'm going to get one of these days. I know you are. And of course, and I think that's why we've been married for so long. Her mother said, when we were dating, he's gone all weekend, every weekend. She goes, he's deer hunting. She goes, you think he is? She goes, I've been with him, Mother. She goes, I don't want to go. She goes, I'd rather him hunt four-legged deer as two-legged deer. But my wife never gave me any problems, because, man, I got to get one. Yeah. I'm going to get one someday. Years and years and years without, but I finally got one.
So tell us about that one. What was your first buck?
Well, he wasn't even a giant buck, but he was a branch antlered 8-pointer, about like this, and I had him mounted. Yeah. Jiminy Christmas, man! I toted him. I'll tell you what, real quick. Yeah. Here's one that changed my life. Here's the day, this greatest trophy ever killed. I'll try to tell it in a hurry.
Perfect. No, you good. Take your time.
I was an apartment painter.
Okay.
I painted apartments. I went to school for 9 years, have 4 college degrees, 2 master's degrees. I have a master's degree from Duke University. Got out and went back to Tulsa and started painting apartments.
Okay.
The Sherwin-Williams store, they call me the smartest painter in Tulsa. Here comes the smartest painter in Tulsa. I'm standing next to a guy one time covered with paint. He goes, how come they call you the smartest painter in Tulsa? And I rattled off my degrees. He said, I've got a PhD from Baylor. I said, well, I'm the second smartest painter in Tulsa. But, that's what I did, apartment painting, and man, hunting. So it's September the 30th, the day before bow season opens on October the 1st. And I'm rolling out of an apartment about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I thought, well, bow season opens in the morning. And I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in my paint van, drive down to Tahlequah, about 40 minutes, go out there and walk around, piddle, sit down there, and not see nothing and not shoot nothing. And I took out roller naps, crammed it down into the paint, went out and got my paint van and headed down towards Wagner, where I grew up. And I remember I used to squirrel hunt down on the river, and I'd see a deer back. Mm-hmm. I just pulled in there, went out there walking, and jumped some deer. And I said, here's where I'm going to come in the morning. Took some 8-penny nails, put my foot up in there. I get up into the. So I did. That next morning went down there, and I'm going to. It was cold. I didn't realize how cold it was. I had a T-shirt on like froze to death. And I'm sitting there in that tree, you know, had my feet just, you know, my butt was a little bit smaller back then, you know, in the crack of that thing. Yeah. And about 9 o'clock, I'm about, a doe stepped out. Oh my God, a doe. She kind of went on around me. Oh, another one stepped out, another doe. 2 does. I've seen 2 does. She did the same thing. Third one. What a day. 3 does. And if I'd have put a ring in her nose, I couldn't have pulled her any straighter to me. She walked right straight down there, 15 yards, turned broadside, said, shoot me right here. Man, I pulled that, but I couldn't find them sights. I'm shaking up. A little voice said, release your arrow. She blew out of there. What's the first thing you do when you shoot it? Man, I got to find that arrow and that broadhead. Back then, that's $10 laying out there, you know. Jumped down, and there was blood everywhere. Oh, my God, I hit that doe. I found that doe. I killed a doe. Jiminy Christmas, I didn't even feel it. I picked that puppy up, went back to my paint van, and headed back towards Wagner, where I grew up. I remember I stopped down there to get gas, you know, pull up, hey, you want to see something? And I rolled that thing back. That's a deer. And I killed it. I killed it. I took her and showed her around to people I went to high school with that I didn't even like. Look what I shot. Jiminy, that set me on fire. That day changed my life forever. That day did something to me.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know what this was that I got down in here, but whatever it is, I want some more of that. And that put me on a mission. That kick-started me to where I am today. You know, that I had that doe mounted along with my first little buck, you know, for years. And then one of my oldest daughter, who's, you know, in her 30s, she was 2 or 3. She was dragging it through the house. She'd broken an ear off, and oh man, so I wished I still had it. But that doe was still the greatest trophy I ever killed, you know. And I remember that day. And when I'm talking to new hunters, I know they feel that.
Yeah.
I know they feel that, and I try to share that with them. When I see, they show me, I'm at deer shows and stuff, they go, well, here's the one I got. It might be, hey, look at that. I don't lie and go, that's a giant buck, you know. But I go, man, I bet you were excited. I couldn't even talk. I was excited. I said, good for you, man. Keep after it. Stay after it, you know. If they've got that excitement and that thrill, and they get that feeling that I felt that day, they're going to keep hunting for a long time.
That's it, yeah.
A long time.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah.
So I got a question about you throwing the doe in your paint van. Did you have a tarp or plastic?
No,
Of course not. Of course not.
No.
Just chucked her in there.
No, and I used to have a Polaroid picture, because at Darlene's grandmother's house, where I strung it up and I skinned her out. And I had one Polaroid of me skinning that doe, and my kids have gotten into my picture box, and it's gone.
Yeah.
That's the only picture I had, but that was a day that I'll just never forget that day, and I always remember it.
So you just told us a story about driving some nails into a tree and then climbing up the tree and getting a doe. And so what has changed for you personally in the way that you hunted whenever you first started and the way that you hunt now?
Well, the greatest innovation in the hunting industry is trail cameras. I believe that, you know. I mean, now, you know, we've got box blinds and beautiful trees stand that we can get up, you know, and our bows and rifles, the weaponry is so much better, you know. But with the evolution of the trail camera, that changed everything about hunting.
Yeah.
It changed everything, and that's one of the neat things about what SPYPOINT does. You know, they continue to be on the cutting edge of the new technology, just making it better and better and better. I remember the first trail cameras. You know, it'd be a box and have a 35 millimeter camera in there. You know, and you tried to weatherproof it the best they could. You know, and it took 36 pictures. You know, it took them 36 pictures. You had to take them and go have them developed.
Right.
Now think about that. And that sounds almost crazy to some people, but that was the first trail cameras, you know. And now it has evolved to now one of my favorite SPYPOINT stories. I'm in North Texas. There are a lot of great states. You know, every state has greatness, but there's just not another state like Texas.
Yeah.
If you're a deer hunter, Texas is in a world to itself.
Right.
You know, and there's so many different ecosystems in Texas. Yeah, from the pines of eastern Texas to the coast down on Corpus Christi, the coastal into the brush country and the hill country. That's some of the most beautiful country in the world. Out to the Big Bend country, you know, and then up the prairies of North Texas. It's just a great place. Well, I started hunting I found a guy and started hunting North Texas every year, and I like that big open prairie country, you know. And we're trying to get a deer on the ground, you know. And Mark Hamilton had said, "I'm seeing a pretty good buck over here on this one blind, you know." So I said, "Well, I want to get in there." I said, "I'm going to put a camera up the night before. I'm going to put a camera, and I want to get in there early, real early. I want to get in there an hour before daylight, you know." And I don't typically do. Everybody's different. I don't have to get in there an hour before daylight, you know. But we did this time. We got in there an hour before daylight, and it was cold, but not just brutal cold. And about a little after 6, bing, my phone went. And Josh, I said, "Oh crap! He's there right now. He was there. He's 150 yards right there. He's there, right? You know, pitch dark, but he's there. Bing! You know, and he stayed out there till about right before light. You know, just as the light started coming up, then he's gone.
Of course.
You know, and I thought, oh man, he was there though. He might come back, and I'll be dogged. 30 minutes here, he come back. You know, but it was so neat to be sitting there. That's the buck we're hunting, and we know he's there.
Yeah.
Just can't see him, but I know he's there, you know.
Yeah.
And we were looking for him, and luckily he came back. You know, luckily for us, he came back. It was unlucky for him, you know. But
so you said North Texas. That's Amarillo, Panhandle area.
North of Amarillo.
Yeah,
the
gotcha. Yeah, that's way up there.
Yeah, way up there. Yeah.
So speaking of gear, something that we've asked everybody. Other than your weapon, your license, what are a couple of pieces of gear that you absolutely have to have with you, no matter where you go?
Well, I have to have deer calls.
Okay.
I don't ever go in the woods without my deer calls. Of course, you know, I use the hands-free deer calls because they're just hanging, but I use them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm amazed at the guys that maybe have a deer call and then don't ever use it, you know. But I'm amazed at the guys that don't have deer calls. Oh my Lord, it's not like they're $300. You know, it's $15.
Yeah.
You know, and they're right there. Use the things, put them in your mouth, and I rattle at certain times of year but I use my deer calls all year long. You just don't know when it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I had a buddy of mine from Kentucky. He sent me some footage. He was trying to do some filming one year, and a shooter buck walked underneath him. He's bow hunting, shooter buck, and he just kept on going. He had all kind of footage, but that's the one I remember because it's 160-inch deer. And I called him. I said, "Pat," he goes, "What do you think of the footage?" I said, "Yeah, you got some good footage." I said, "In particular, that one that walked underneath your tree." "Yeah, he didn't stop." I said, Pat, why didn't you use your deer call or just, well, I guess I didn't want to scare him. You know, scare him? He left, you know. And I tell this in seminars, you know, the guys, you know, he's out there 50, 60 yards and they, you know, they got the deer call and they're looking at that deer call, blow on your deer call. Yeah, well, I don't want to scare him. He's leaving.
Yeah. He's already leaving.
He's leaving. Just put it in your mouth and blow on it. If he doesn't react, blow louder. If he doesn't react, blow louder. Turn it into a duck call. Blow on that thing, because he's already going to be gone. You never know. And I could tell, we could sit here for a week. I could tell you the stories where that, and out of the wild blue, they stop and they just come back. You just never know. It doesn't hurt a thing. So I'm a big proponent of having deer calls and then using them, blowing on those things. Every time I get into my tree stand or a box blind, I always start out, a couple little grunts, and I'll blow on a doe call. Just doesn't hurt a thing. Doesn't hurt a thing. And you never know when it's going to be a big deal. Big deal.
Yeah, that's for sure. A couple last questions. So what upcoming projects or hunts are you most excited about for this coming year, 2024?
Well, I'm just now kind of putting my thinking cap on.
Okay.
And scratching it a little bit. I'm going hunting this weekend. We're going squirrel hunting.
Nice.
I was at the farmer's co-op buying some oats and stuff for the pig. We got a pet pig.
Okay.
Bella. I hope that she makes it a little while longer. Oh my Lord. But she's just I don't recommend people getting a pet pig, and she's just precious, and sweet as she can be, but she's a pig.
So it's an actual pet. Y'all aren't raising her to eat her.
No.
I think once you name them, you can't eat them. Is that the rule?
Pretty hard to put her on the plate. Yeah. Pretty hard.
Well, I didn't know if you needed her to survive longer, if you need a little more weight on her,
No, she's just about right, about 130 pounds right now.
Okay.
But I don't know what we're going to do with her. But I was up at the co-op, and hey, let me show you something. And he had 7 big old. I love squirrel hunt, but I love fox squirrel hunting. And the difference between a fox squirrel and a gray squirrel is a lot. Boy, I don't care about hunting them, but boy, I like hunting fox squirrels. They had 7 big fox squirrels. He goes, I've been trying to get on this guy's place for no. Let's go hunting. I said, we'll film it too. And so this Saturday and Sunday, we're going to go down there. And so I'm actually excited about that. Squirrel season in Oklahoma runs till the 1st of February. So, but I'm thinking about maybe doing some different things this fall. But more than likely, as long as I can go back to Rancho Cuevas, I'm going to Mexico. I've got a new place down in South Texas that I think we're going to be invited to, and so I'm going to go down there and look it over. And out in far west Texas, I have a friend that has the greatest elk lease in the history of the world.
Okay.
And it's free range elk in Big Bend country, West Texas, 30,000 acres. And I've been invited to that, but I'm not going to get to hunt. But we're going. And he has aoudad too. Yeah. So we'll get to hunt aoudad. But I'm in particular excited about being out there in the middle of September and getting in on some of that tremendous action.
Yeah. When it should start to. It should be cooling down in September. I've been to Big Bend once. It was in July. It was 116 degrees. Yeah. I tell people, I said, that's the best kept national park in this country. Big Bend is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
So beautiful.
It is. And that kind of country can grow on you too. Once you get out there around it, I love it.
I have a hard time describing that place to people.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe. But we're going to do that in September. Yeah. We're going to do that in September. And I always go to northern Missouri every year, about 3 miles from the Iowa border. Okay. So we'll go back and do that. And then something will come up.
Yeah.
Something will come up. I've been invited to Illinois that's a pretty good hunt too. That I may or may not do. I'm just getting kind of a little bit pickier on where I spend my time now, and let's face it, my time is kind of limited, so to speak. I got a whole lot more behind me than I do ahead of me. So I try to be real picky on where I go, and it makes sense. I'm trying to go to the very best places I can,
Yeah.
But I put my time in. We did this year. Even Josh, he said, I think we spent more hours sitting in a box blind where we didn't see anything than we have in years. It was a lot of sits this year, but we kept sitting and kept going and kept plugging it and kept our our spy points out to try to give us an edge on where they're at.
Yeah.
And we did the things whenever things are slow, you just keep doing them. You just keep doing them, and it paid out. We had a really good year, but we worked hard.
Yeah.
We worked hard.
Sometimes you have to.
You just have to sometimes.
So that's a good segue into our final questions. What are you most excited about that we're releasing this year and about using our cameras in your hunting success?
Yeah, well, I like having the double battery thing. I really do like that, because if you got your camera in a really good spot, boy, you're taking a bunch of pictures,
right.
and it can drain your camera,
Yeah.
So, but to me, it's worth having a great camera and getting great pictures if it does become a little bit of a battery hog,
Yeah.
And now with double batteries, boy, that's real exciting.
Yeah.
And the solar flex
Yep.
that's a really good feature. The one we came out with last year really is a nice camera, and it helps on battery use as well.
Sure.
Guys kind of and I understand it. I'm on a budget too. But I can remember rolling walls out. I can remember the days when my hunting rig was my paint van. And boy, I pinched the pennies. And when you have to put, and I only use, you can use the silver energizers. They're $3 a piece. So it's $25.
Yeah.
To get your camera up and running. Right. But still, that's not a lot when it compared to, giving you the tip on when you need to be there
Right.
But one thing that trail cameras still cannot replace, and that's good old common sense and getting out there reading sign.
That's it.
Deer still make rubs. They still poop everywhere they walk. They leave tracks. Be a woodsman. Don't get so lazy with your trail cameras. Think that they're going to hunt for you. Get out there, because your trail camera may be off 20 yards, and you miss your deer. Get out there and get in the woods. Spend time in the woods. Stick to the basics, and the deer will tell you what they're doing and where they're going, and then be willing to put the time in, and you can be successful. You can be successful. And trail cameras are great, but being a smart hunter is even better.
Yep. That's great advice, and that's a great spot for us to end. Mr. Roger, thank you so
Hey,
much.
my pleasure.
You're a class act and a legend in our industry. It's been my pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.